Outdoor music festival meets backyard summer hangout, or in this case, front yard at the Red House on Dorchester. Red House Live is back with another season of porch performances, including back-to-back nights today and tomorrow. And to tell us more about it is Zori Gervais. Hey, Zori, good to see you.
Hello, thanks for having me.
This a pandemic project that has returned for a third season. Remind us what got you started with Red House Live.
Well, ever since I first bought my house, I've thought this front porch would be great for having outdoor concerts. But being a musician and touring over the summer, it never materialized until COVID. And so the first COVID summer, I was looking for ways to make some sort of performance venue where people could hear live music, and specifically musicians who don't play with electronic enhancement, usually like, classical musicians or, like jazz guitarists who just use minimal amplification, that kind of stuff, because it just doesn't translate well over live stream. And I was so tired of not getting to hear live music. And so I was just looking for a way to make a way for musicians to play and connect with audiences that would be safe and accessible for people, regardless of their own COVID cautious attitudes. They could sit as far away from everybody else as they wish, and they could still hear the music from across the street, So that was kind of what first started it off. And then it took on a life of its own. So as soon as I kind of started booking a few concerts, musicians started contacting me, and it's been kind of steady ever since. I get usually like 1 or 2 emails a week of musicians that are coming through town who are looking for a venue to perform at, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, it really is fantastic. And I mean, it's such a great idea. As you mentioned, this kind of started in the first COVID summer, which was back in 2020. And it's just such a lovely way to take in a performance. It almost feels like you're taking in a show at the park at a bandstand or something like that, right? You're surrounded by nature, you're outdoors, there's trees, the performers are up elevated on the porch. And like you say, it is a quality stoop in terms of performances. Like, it is a great way to see these players and musicians up on the stage. I'm really curious, Ray. I mean, this is the third season. Has the format at all changed regarding Red House Live, or has it just kind of been tried and true?
The format hasn't changed very much. I would say what was really interesting the first year was that we were getting a lot of couples performing. These are people who are both professional musicians, but usually weren't performing together. And so during COVID, obviously, they were only able to collaborate with each other. So we had some really interesting collaborations, notably when Julian Pelicano and Momoko Matsumura came and played together. That was super cool.
Yeah.
And like, hot tip, there might be a surprise reprise of that this Friday.
I was wondering that.
But yeah, so that's probably the only thing that has changed, is that now we're back to seeing, typically established groups versus these kind of like whoever happened to be living together.
Yeah,
situations.
bubbled performers. When we were using those terms,
performer.
your bubble, right?
Yes.
I guess one big thing that's changed is, pandemic restrictions. Music's back, performances are back. And I mean, you sort of touched on this, but it's taken on a life of its own. What made you want to keep it going, despite the return of music festivals and the like?
It was primarily the musicians and the community that made me want to keep it going. I actually was not planning on continuing it this summer. And then I just had so many musicians say, like, please, can we just do one show? And then audience members messaging me, hey, when's Red House coming back? And I realized, this has been kind of a special thing for the community. It provides a really intimate setting for performers that's pretty unique and kind of akin to the salon concerts of old, like I've always loved house concerts for that reason. And it is great because Winnipeg has wonderful summer weather. So it's just really lovely to get to hang out outside and chat with your neighbors, or not chat, just listen to music. So yeah, I decided to give it a go again.
And we're very thankful that you did. You've showcased such a plethora of performers in this, a wide variety of styles, primarily, like you say, kind of the classical and jazz scene, but beyond, from up-and-comers to Juno winners. And that continues this season. It got started at the end of June. There were a few jazzy ensembles, a trio, a quartet, a quintet, and then cellist Rob Nags was performing just last week. Tell us about the back-to-back nights of performance happening today and tomorrow.
Sure. Yeah, we've got a really interesting week lined up. So tonight, Thursday, I think, yes, to get my days straight in the summertime, we have Elation Pauls, who's a violinist in the WSO. She's going to be playing some solo repertoire that she's prepared for us. that's going to be gorgeous. And then after she plays, we've got Larry Roy and Aaron Prop and Julian Bradford coming to play. So that will be pretty awesome too. You know, I am a big fan of Aaron, so I'm always excited to get to hear her sing. For those of you who haven't heard her, she's got like, I would call it like prairie jazz folk kind of style.
Yeah.
It's super nice. And then on Friday night, we've got some violinists from the WSO, Christina Bauch and Momoko Matsumura, who are going to be playing duets. And then they're also bringing a surprise special guest. So if you want to find out who that is, you should come. The show on Thursday starts at 7 because we have the 2 different performers back to back. And then the show on Friday starts at 7:30.
And we've got all the details up at classic107.com, and be sure to link that stuff out there as well. You know, we've got the full kind of season, most of it, but I know it's kind of changing. Could you tease a few of the other performers for us as the summer continues?
Sure. So I think next week we also have 2 back-to-back amazing performers. We've got Juno winners, power couple, Jocelyn Gould and Will Bonis coming on, I think it's the 30th?
Yeah. Yes.
And then on the 29th, we just booked Woody Holler and his orchestra. They're going to be playing. So that's Woody Holler on vocals, and then Danny Kulak on bass, and Larry Roy on guitar. So that's going to be a fantastic show too. So that's, you know, back to back next week, 2 great shows. All of the shows are pay what you can. We recommend a donation of $15 to $20, but, you know, like music for all. So just come and be there. If you can't afford to pay, that's okay too. But, you know, it'd be really great to support the musicians.
And the season continues all the way through the month of August as well, and maybe into September. I know it has in the past, but things kind of get busy come fall time. But it really is such a wonderful opportunity to hear some of these musicians who you might have seen in the broader community, but not in such an intimate setting with 1 or 2 other players or performers. It's just such a beautiful way to spend an evening. Like you say, admission isn't required, but a donation encouraged. And then the one other thing that people kind of need to know is maybe bring a lawn chair or a blanket, or I don't know, just sit on the grass, right? Like that's whatever you're comfortable with.
Bring chairs, bring snacks, bring some tea, whatever you feel like bringing. You know, my home is your home. Make yourself comfortable.
Well, that is wonderful. And one last thing, you mentioned kind of the added performers that are kind of getting added to the list. If there's any musicians who are listening to this conversation right now and thinking like, oh, you know what, I might be down to do something like that, can they reach out? How's that all working? Or are you already booking 2023 at this point on the porch?
I do have some 2023 booked already, which is exciting.
No way. That's wow.
I'm pretty booked up for this summer, but there's still some availability if we're doing double headers. Like if you're willing to join a set along with another musician, then we can do that. So we aren't able to go into the fall this year since I'll be away for work for most of September. But I'm really excited to, you know, squeeze in as many great performers as we can. So yeah, reach out, be in touch.
We have such a way of making the most of summers in Manitoba, and you're doing exactly that, Zoe. So thank you for bringing back another season of Red House Live, and great catching up with you as always.
Thanks, you too.
And you can check out Red House Live at 944 Dorchester. We've got all the details up at classic107.com under the events tab, or check out Red House, and that's German House, Haus, live on Facebook or on Instagram.